everyone. Thank you for joining us. I'm Brandon Waltons, the managing editor here at Texas Scorecard. And right now we're being joined by Carey Counsil, a candidate for Texas Agriculture Commissioner. Carey, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you. And thank you, Texas Scorecard. I appreciate y'all having me. Thank you.
Absolutely. So for folks who may not have been following the race, may not know about your candidacy, give folks first a little bit of your background.
A little bit about Carey Counsil. I'm a true farmer and rancher. I've got a ranch in Brenham and Burton, Texas. I raise cattle and do a little bit of hay. I'm a fifth generation farmer and rancher. My dad, granddad, and great-granddad are also farmers and ranchers. I'm a veteran. I'm a disabled veteran of the United States Air Force. A little bit about me. I'm a professor of economics. I teach at the college. So I have the economics background. I've had several businesses. I've got a successful real estate business that I built from the ground up. I've got a lot of real estate that I own and a lot of real estate that I manage, rent houses and so forth. And so I've had experience working with and working around the agriculture industry. One of the big things that qualifies me for this position is managing people. I've been 25 years with the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo, and if you're managing 1,100 people on a volunteer basis, everybody gets paid the same. It's a little difficult. It's a little difficult to manage those kind of people, and it takes a special person because nobody's getting paid for the position. So when you got 1,100 people that you're trying to manage, it's a different kind of management style. So my management style is about us, and then if there's a problem, you take the blame for it.
And so you decided to jump in to run for statewide office as Texas Agriculture Commissioner. First of all, what were you thinking running for office in the first place?
Well, one of the things, it really disturbed me what was going on with the Texas Department of Agriculture, just the commissioner, some of the issues that we're having, the ethical issues that were going on. It's just been habitual. I saw the state legislature lower his travel budget down tremendously, where it sort of put the reins on what the agriculture commissioner could do. Decided my resume sort of pointed towards this direction. I was fed up. I talked to a lot of state representatives and senators, and they encouraged me. They encouraged me because they weren't really happy with what's going on with the Texas Department of Agriculture, and my resume points towards that direction. I thought, I know I can do a better job with what's going on in Texas Department of Agriculture. I'm a leader. I care about agriculture and I care about the future. One of the things that I was discussing this with my dad, I'm at a point of retirement with the college, and he said, "Why are you doing this? You don't really need to do this." And I no, I don't need to do this. But if I don't do this, who's going to do it? Who's going to take care of the generations, the next generation, and the grandparent and the grandchild generation? We need somebody to take care of that next generation. And I want to be that person. I want to be the person that steps up and says, I can fix this, and I want to work with the legislature. I want to work with the constituents. I want to work with the general population of the public. Todd Staples was real good about being out there in the public and being in front of everybody when he was ag commissioner. And that's what we're not seeing today. We're not seeing somebody out there working directly with the constituents and working with the ranchers and the farming community. You have to understand, agriculture doesn't affect just the farming community and the agriculture community. It's the urban too. And we saw that in this area when we had the freeze last year in February. When your water stops coming through those pipes, you're screaming. Agriculture affects everybody, from the farmers to the city. We're a nation that was built on agriculture. And if we don't take care of that now, we're going to lose that in the future.
I think it's sometimes hard for people who don't have an agriculture background, who do live in cities, to really grasp exactly what kind of role the Agriculture Commission has on a day-to-day basis. What kind of stuff would you be doing to help promote agriculture in Texas?
Oh, well, in the urban communities, the agriculture communities get it. Obviously, farmers and ranchers get how important the Texas Department of Agriculture is. But the city really, you're right, the cities don't really understand. But I try to inform people and educate people to let them know that if you've got a garden, if you've put money into landscaping, if you've put money into your clothing, which is cotton, or your shoes, which are leather, that all is part of agriculture. And we need to make sure that we prioritize the Texas commodities. We want to make sure that we put Texas first, and we maintain that Texas commodities are important. Of course, we have to have the imports, but we want to produce everything and support Texas Commission or Texas commodities first. After we support those Texas commodities, we can export our leftovers. I was in Dalhart last week, and one of the interesting factors that I heard around the Dalhart area, that's a population of only 10,000 people, but the majority of the people that live up there are agricultural people. 40% of all Texas agricultural commodities are produced in that panhandle area and shipped throughout Texas. That was an interesting statistic that I had no idea. The more I get out and the more I meet people, I don't think that people realize it affects everybody. When you go to the grocery store, everything in the grocery store, that's your agricultural commodities. When you landscape your house, that's your agricultural commodities. It's important.
Absolutely. And another issue you've made a big part of your campaign is protecting water rights. What exactly do you mean by that?
Well, we need to make sure, as I was in Dalhart last week, I was talking to them as well, and they said they've been almost 90 days without a sufficient rainfall. We need to make sure that we supply the water. You know, the rain may not come in Dalhart, but it may come in Dallas, or it may come in Houston, but not come in Austin. We need to make sure that we have water in all areas of Texas. We need to make sure that over the next 5 years, we're going to use 17% more water with the same amount of supplies. I'm an economist. I teach economics at the college. Those numbers don't add up. We're going to have to figure out ways. Now, if we have water coming down through the aquifers or coming down the rivers and lakes on the east end of Texas, we need to be able to supply some of that over to the west end of Texas. There's ways around. There's water wells. There's abandoned gas lines. There's abandoned oil lines underneath the ground. We can move that water back and forth to make sure that we have water throughout the state of Texas. Also, I'm a big fan, and this was brought up during Governor Perry's term, I'm a big fan of desalinization, or maybe catching the water before it actually hit the brackish water, before it even hits the Gulf of Mexico, bringing some of that water back up. The big cities, they're saying that we're going to have a population increase is going to increase just a small percentage over the next several years. Well, with Tesla coming in, with everything Elon Musk is doing out in Van Horn, we're going to have a population that I don't know that Texas is ready for. We need to make sure that water is not going to be our next economic crisis like what I'm thinking it's going to be. We need to make sure that we're able to supply water to all the Texans in Texas. If not, what's going to be hurt is the rice communities in South Texas, the agricultural communities down the valley that are producing all of our produce and green crops.
We've seen, especially over the last year, the prices of, well, just about everything go up, but especially produce, meat, things like that in the grocery stores. Is there anything that the Texas Agriculture Department can do to protect consumers, I guess, against some of those raising prices?
That's a twofold question. Is there anything that we can produce? Let me explain to you. As an economist, I'm going to explain to you exactly what's happening. The two major factors that affect everybody in the world. The big driving factor in inflation is fuel. What have we seen in fuel from the last year? It's gone up 30%, from $1.99, $2 to $3. So that's a 30% increase. Food has gone up 17 to 20%. So that's the overall commodities. So I know no one's paycheck has gone up 17 to 20%. We're not seeing it in our paychecks, but we're seeing it in our expenditures. One of the things we need to do is we need to educate the public and let them know that's not the farmers and ranchers making that money. It's the middlemen that are making that money. The middlemen are the ones making all the money. So we need to see if we can have a factor where we can lower that factor down, where the middlemen are not making all that money. And that is something. It's a long subject to bring up, but it's the packing houses. The packing houses with the big four packing houses that there's four packing houses that produce 80% of all the products that we consume. We're starting to see an influx of what we call co-op programs, where farmer-owned packing houses. I talked to the chairman of National Cattlemen's Beef Administration, and there's good workings right now there is at least a little bit with the Biden administration, where they're starting to put money back into some of these small packing houses and some of the co-op owned packing houses. For those of you who don't understand, those packing houses are the ones, the Tyson and the Cargill and JBS and Swift. Those are the packing houses that produce and pack all of your chicken and all of your pork and all of your beef that you consume at the grocery store. So the farmers send them off to the packing houses. The packing houses, they're not able to produce at the capacity of desired need right now, and therefore it's driving the prices up at the grocery stores. Educating the populace and letting the people know where the problem is, and so they don't think it's the rich farmers out there making all the money. That's not the case. We're not rich farmers.
Right. When we talk about some of the responsibilities of the Agriculture Department, there's one issue that I don't think people would really think of. which is, right now we've gotten, especially over the last year, again, a big surge of illegal immigration over the southern border. And is there anything that the Agriculture Department can do to help curb that?
Here we go. This is where the Commissioner of Agriculture steps in. The Commissioner of Agriculture is a liaison between the people and the legislature. That's what their job is. You have a spokesperson in Austin. When I talk to the people at the border, one of the things that I'm hearing is the illegals are coming in and they're cutting the fences and they're crossing fences, and the farmers have to go out and check their fences on a daily basis. If not, their cattle are going to be out. One of the farmers told me down there is not only are they cutting the fences, they're also cutting the lines in their of the water wells that water their cattle. And they're plugging their cell phones in because there's an electrical outlet there. So they're cutting the electric lines going to the water well and plugging their cell phones in, and they're having to go out and check the electric and bring electricians in there to fix those electrical outlets. That's one of the things that the Department of Agriculture can do is be a liaison. Of course, we're going to need. It's a misconception that people think that we had a closed border. We've never had a closed border. I think we need to streamline the immigration process. The agricultural industry in Texas has a desired need for the Hispanics that are coming across from Mexico. We use that labor. We need to have a streamlined process to allow the ones that want to work to come in and work, because we need those, especially during the harvest season. So when we talk about closing the border, do we ever close the border? We need to limit the border, and we need to limit who's coming across the border, and we need to monitor, because we don't need the cartels, we don't need the drugs, we don't need the human trafficking. We need the workers that really, if the real workers want to come over and work, we need that industry. And that's why we're seeing a lot of restaurants and a lot of stores. There's not enough workers. We just don't have enough people that want to work right now.
Shifting focus right now to the campaign. Okay, so you are one of three candidates in this race. You've got the incumbent Sid Miller, who is endorsed by President Trump, has been in there for 2 terms now, is running for a third. James White, a state representative who's been in the House for a while. What's your strategy looking at March 1st of your chances, you think, of being able to win this race or go to a runoff?
My chances are very good, at least getting in the runoff, because I'm an agrarian person. I deal with the agriculture. I work with the agriculture. I think people are really, really tired of the status quo. They're tired of the career politicians. They're tired of the politicians that keep with the rhetoric they're hearing in Austin. They're tired of people making the empty promises. I am not a politician. I'm not a career politician. I am a farmer. I'm a rancher. I'm a businessman. I'm a Texas Aggie. I'm a veteran. I've got my resume that focuses towards management styles. That's what I want to do. I want to get in, and my chances are good at making the runoff, because I'm dealing 20% of the population in Texas is agricultural. The other 80% is the big cities. The big city of Houston and the big city of Austin have turned more blue than they have red, but that doesn't mean that I'm not taking my focus towards those areas. I think they're very important, and I think the urban people need to understand that agriculture affects them, and I'm their person, because I am not a career politician. I don't have a motive to use the Agricultural Commission as a stepping stone. I had an opportunity, if I wanted, to run for the legislature. That's not my goal. My goal is not to be a politician. My goal is to be a liaison for the person back to the agricultural community. If people will do the research on the incumbent, they'll find there's a lot of negative out there. Not the Texas Department of Agriculture, but the incumbent himself has drawn a lot of negative with the indictments that have gone on through Todd Smith and the hemp industry, all the way through some of the ethics violations that he's been charged with.
This is a question you've probably heard as you've been traveling and going to groups. It's one of the biggest questions we always get, which is, why is it that so many politicians or candidates get into office and then they don't do what they said they would do? Why do you think that is, and why would you not do that?
That's a great question. That's a great question. We can applaud Trump for being the one true politician that once he made his promises, he got in, and that's one of the things that he did. He pushed his agenda all the way through, and that's why people voted for him, because he didn't have somebody in his pocket. My campaigns thus far is a self-funded campaign. I don't have any big donors. I have some people that have given me small amounts of money. I don't have any allegiance to any big corporation. I don't have any allegiance to anybody that's going to focus me in any area that they want to focus on. I don't have any lobbyists that are pushing me in any particular direction. I have support. I have support from the cattle industry. I have support from the cotton industry. I have support from the different industries, a lot of the grain industries and a lot of the crop industries.
And for folks who want to follow your campaign, learn more about what you're up to, where can they go do that?
The first place to go is Carey Counsil. That's CAREY Council, COUNSIL. My Facebook page is probably the biggest place where you're going to see the updates and the pictures and so forth. LinkedIn, I'm also on LinkedIn at Carey Counsil, Carey Counsil, and my website, it's Carey Council Across Texas. You can email me at Carey@Council Across Texas, or my website is Council Across Texas, COUNSIL Across Texas.
Excellent. Thank you so much for joining us, Carey. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for your time, and thank you.
You made it to the end of this video. You're probably one in a million. But since you're here, make sure you go to TexasScorecard.com to find more journalism and commentary, all things pertaining to Texas. Make sure you also like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and hit the bell. That way you can be notified when new videos come out. Thanks.